reason of what's going on in the markets. There's a lot of fear and people get emotional about their money. And when you get emotional, Josh, what happens?
Well, panic and
you make poor decisions usually, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a lot of people selling some very good stocks right now, probably liquidating some of their crypto, selling positions because they're fearful. And the truth is, it doesn't really matter until you need the money. And you shouldn't invest any money that you need for the next 5 years, right? So I have 3 money rules that I always abide by. Cool. Number 1, put money into the stock market every month. Don't try and time the market. Don't care what the price is. Don't worry about what the price of the stocks are or what the market is doing. Okay, so that's called dollar cost averaging. That is money rule number 1. Dollar cost average. Don't try and time the market. You should work with an advisor or manage the money yourself and just put in monthly. Cool. So that is the first rule of money. Second rule of money is buy on a 5% or more dip. Okay, so I call it dry powder. Always try and keep a little bit of dry powder or cash that you don't need that you can buy some stocks with. Okay, so an example, and I am not a stock picker, by the way. So when I say, hey, I have this stock, I don't authorize it. You buy it. You buy what you think is fit. You do your own research. I do my research, right? But you buy what you like. So the second thing is buy on a 5% dip. Cool. Number 3, third rule of money and third rule of investing. When you have a chunk of change, maybe you get a big bonus, maybe you sold a property, maybe you sold a car, whatever you consider to be a big chunk. We all have different incomes. We all have different fluctuations. When you have that big chunk of money, never put it all in at once. You layer into the market, okay? So I got a big bonus to join my new company. It was a sizable amount of money to me. I did not put it all in at once. Even though it was a great time, the market was flying high, all the stocks were making a ton of money, I did not put it all in once. I layered into the markets. Okay, so those on Facebook right now, I'm sorry I can't share my slides with you. You'll just have to listen to me. But anybody that wants this slide deck, just put your email in the comments and I will get you this. Everyone on Zoom, you will get to see this. Can you all see my screen okay? Cool. So I always tell my story, like, I think the worst thing about school and education, and definitely our parents' generation, for those of us on that are like in the mid to late 30s to 40s, is it was like very hush hush. You don't talk about politics, you don't talk about religion, and you don't talk about money, right? So now the next generation after that has to suffer because we were never given any money lessons because it was hush hush during our parents' generations, right? So I wasn't given any money lessons. I wasn't taught it in school. I had a very successful mortgage company I started in my mid-20s, and during the craziness of 2002 to 2008, right, I was making a lot of money but spending way more because I didn't have a budget. I made a lot of risky investments, a ton of rental properties that didn't work out, and my mortgage company went belly up, and I didn't focus on the money. And I found myself $330,000 in debt by the time I was 30 years old. So everyone, that's like, wow, 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 wow. So I share that story because if you're in debt or are trying to work out of debt, I can relate. I understand. I've been through that pain. It is emotional. And when you are emotional, you don't make good decisions, right? So it's all about having a plan and having tactics. My next wealth building workshop on budgeting will be on paying off debt. So if you need to get out of that, or if I can help you one-on-one and coach your budget, I'm here to do that. These systems were given to me by somebody a mentor of mine that helped me get out of debt. So I feel obligated to help people back out of it. So that was where I was at 12 years ago. I found myself $330,000 in debt. I followed a plan. I invest. This is how I invested. And now I have over $7 million in the stock market. When I was making this PowerPoint, that's changed a little bit the last couple of days. So I won't talk about what the number is now. I'm going to hold to what it was before this. But yes, your investments are going to fluctuate. You're going to have to deal with the ups and downs. And I don't tell that to brag or try and impress anybody watching. I just tell it to impress upon you. I know these systems work. I followed them myself. They've been taught to me by a mentor that I moved halfway across the country to be by all the time. And I know they'll work for you. So I'm super passionate about helping people with their money. I don't get anything out of it. I'm not a financial advisor. I don't get any commissions out of it. I've just been in that very painful place. And if I'm being transparent, honest, it led to thoughts of suicide, massive depression, just lost in life, things that I haven't shared with a lot of people. And so I feel obligated to help people out that felt the way I did 12, 13 years ago when this all happened. So the good news is you can change it, you can budget, and you can get out of it. And once you get out of it, there's a beautiful thing on the other side, which is investing and accumulating wealth. And that's what I'm going to talk about today. So a lot of people think being a millionaire is hard. It is not if you're disciplined. And here is proof of that. If you were to invest $700 every single month, getting an 8% return annually, you would have $1,050,000. So you too can be a millionaire if you are disciplined and if you save every month. Now I'll get people arguing with what's that?
Sorry.
You're not sharing your screen?
Yeah.
No, it's not.
No.
Thank you for saving me for that, Adam. Now can you see it?
I can see it.
Y'all good? All right, good. Well, look at you. I created this very nice screen. Actually, my staff did. So now you can see it. All right. So you too can be a millionaire. Well, the rule of 72 says money doubles at a 10% annual return every 7.2 years. So 8% is going to double every 9 years. That's compounding interest. So here's the thing about money in the stock market, right? It's compounding interest. So what you're trying to do here is use what the credit card companies use against us. It was very hard for me to get out of the massive credit card debt that I had because the interest kept compounding. You're paying interest upon interest, okay? We want to use that in our favor in the stock market. So we want to make interest upon our interest, and that's what the stock market does. So it's a function called the rule of 72. Cool. $700 for 30 years at an 8% return will make you $1,050,000. Okay, so you just need to be disciplined in your savings. Now, people will argue, how am I going to get an 8% return every year? I think the best index to put money in is the S&P 500 index. It is the best index, in my opinion. I compare my financial advisor every single month versus the S&P. I compare the money that I invest myself in my E-Trade. The S&P just always beats it over time. So I love, if you have a 401k, don't complicate your finances, put it in the S&P 500, and you too will get an 8% return over a long period of time.
I don't know why.
Cool. Carrie, can you mute everyone, please? So that is how to be disciplined in your saving. You have to do it every month, okay? If I could give you the discipline of how do I save money every month, the number you need to work towards saving is save 20% of your income. If you can save 20% of your income every single month and put it into the stock market, you're going to retire comfortably. Now, that might take some people longer than others, but it's a percentage of your income. So if you make $100,000 a year and you save 20%, that's $20,000 a year that you'll save. Okay. I try and focus with my mortgage clients and students that I coach across the country that are mortgage lenders, try and live your life in thirds. So about a third of your income should go to living expenses. About a third of your income goes to the government for taxes. And that last third should be split up between money going into the stock market, cool, and charity, if that's important to you like it is to me. So save 20% of your income. Now, I've learned with my students who are all great earners and do very well financially and are successful, that I had to take that a step further. Save 20% of your money and don't touch it. You can't go get it, right? It has to stay in the stock market to compound and grow. You can't like save 20% of your money and then go buy a new car with it. That doesn't work. So I've learned I've had to add to that rule. Save 20% of your money every single month, put it in the stock market, and don't touch it. Okay, so don't touch the money. I think a disciplined way of doing this is putting it into the stock market or into your 401k. So just if you can set your 401k to save 20% of your income, that is awesome. You're doing great if you can do that. Okay, if you can't do that, then you have two choices to make. And I believe both of them are choices. Make more or spend less. Make more or spend less. Okay. So that is a whole nother class on budgeting. How do I invest in the stock market? So I'm going to go a little bit here and then come back. Here is how I break out my investments. So of that 20%, we're doing a little math here. Okay. But of your 20% savings, in the example I just showed you, that was someone making $100,000 a year. Okay, they're saving $20,000 per year. Okay, so we're working with $20,000. And if I divide $20,000 divided by 12, I have $1,666 to invest each month. Okay, so I'm going to make you all do a little math because it's important to know math. And that's the great thing about investing, budgeting, and money is everything just comes down to numbers and math. So if you're not good at it, work hard to get good at it. So of that $1,666 that this person's saving per month, 70% of it should go into index funds. Okay, so what is an index fund? Like I said, the S&P 500 is an index fund. Okay, so this person would divide up 1,100 of that $1,666 they would put into an index fund. Okay, so 70% of your savings every month should go into a combination, in my opinion, of these three funds. I like the S&P 500. If you guys have E-Trade or Robinhood, that ticker or that symbol is SPY. SPY. Okay. I also like the Invesco QQQ. So the S&P 500 is the 500 top companies in our country. Okay. So it gives you exposure to some really good blue chip stocks, great companies, great American companies. Okay. The QQQ, the Invesco QQQ, is a technology-based fund. Okay. So you might have heard of the NASDAQ index. That's mostly technology. So think of companies like chip makers, CRMs like Salesforce, right? Amazon could be considered a tech company. These are tech companies, right? And I don't ever think tech is going away. So over the last 2 years, the QQQ has averaged a 26% return. Now it's not averaging it that year, it's getting absolutely crushed right now, right? But we're in the beginning of the year and people forget that every January and February, for the most part, suck in the markets, right? And now we have this war on top of it. So this is a long game, not a short game. So the second fund I really like for your 70% of your savings is the QQQ. Now, I like to still consider myself young, even though I'm 44 years old. I'm starting not to be young, but I still think I have time to save for retirement, and I'm still pretty aggressive. So I like the VTWO, the Vanguard VTWO. This is small cap companies. Okay, so I like that fund as well. So we're saving 20% of our income. If you make $100,000 a year, that's $20,000 a year. If we divide that by 12 to get our monthly savings, that's $1,666. So make sure you're writing these notes down, okay? And just apply it to whatever your income is. So of that $1,666 we're saving total, $1,166, 70% of what we're saving per month, should go into these index funds. Okay, now just to tell you how I divide it up, I do 50% of that money into the S&P 500. So $583 in this example would go into the S&P 500. Okay, and then I split up the other two 25% a piece, right? So I would put $291.55 into the VTWO, and I put $291.55 towards the QQQ. Okay. So that is where 70% of my money goes into index funds. You do not need a financial advisor to invest that way. You can do that yourself through your E-Trade. You can pay minimal fees on it, and you cannot be charged your 1% that most financial advisors are going to charge you. Cool. Carrie, go ahead and open it up. And if you guys got questions as we go along, you can put them in the chat. On Facebook, you guys can enter them into the comments, and Carrie will feed me some of those. So just enter into the chat if you have any questions, both on Facebook and on Zoom here live. So that's 70% of our overall savings per month. We have any questions, Carrie?
Not that I see yet, just some emails for the slides.
Okay, cool. 20% of our savings should go into blue chip stocks. Okay, so I'm going to keep with my same example of someone making $100,000 a year, saving $20,000 per year. So they're saving 20% of their income. And we're looking at this monthly because remember, we need to put money in the markets every single month. So 20% of that overall savings, or $333 a month, should be divided by 5 blue chip stocks. Okay, so that would be $66 a piece in each of these 5 stocks. All right, so I like Microsoft. I like Disney. Most of you that are on know I have 3 young daughters. Everything in my house is Disney, right? It's like the Encanto movie is driving me insane. Everything, all that musical's on constantly. Josh is shaking his head. Yes, I remember when Taylor was always into Frozen, right? We're all into Frozen, right? I know Adam's got young girls, but my friend Brock's on with Brielle. Like all the girls love Frozen. So it seems like all the Disney movies are always hitting, and I just like Disney. I think it's a good American wholesome company. I'm sure they have their flaws, but for the most part, I like what they stand for. So I feel comfortable investing in them, and it's American staple. It's going to go up and go down, but it's a great company. I like Apple because I use all Apple products. Everything technology I have, AirPods, iPhone, laptops, iPads. I just have a ton of Apple stuff, and I love the products and I use it. And it's been a very good stock to me. So Apple's one of my blue chip stocks. Nike, I wear all Nike stuff. I loved Jordan back in the days. I've always wore Nike stuff. I like Nike. I like their products. I still wear Nike to this day. Costco, I think half of my paycheck. So if I'm saving a third of my money in the stock market, I think the other third goes to Costco. So I just spend a lot of money there. It's the only shopping I will do. I love going in there. I hate shopping everywhere else. And it's been a great stock for me. So I just believe in what Costco does. I believe in their stores. I like the stock. So Warren Buffett, who I believe is the best investor of our times, he says, use companies you know, like, and trust, and use their product. That's who you should invest in. So maybe mine aren't what you use. Pick yours, do research on those companies, but pick 5 blue chip stocks. So we're saving 20% of our income, right? And of that 20%, we're putting 20% towards blue chip stocks. So if we're continuing with our math, that's $66.66 to each stock. Now, some of you will say, hey, these stocks, some of these are more expensive than $66. And that's true. And you should be using Robinhood if you have to buy fractional shares. A lot of people can't afford Amazon stock. It's $3,400 a share. But with Robinhood, you can buy a fraction of a share. So you can still get Amazon stock without having to pay the full Amazon price for a full share. Okay, so use Robinhood if your savings means you have to buy less than 1 share. Okay.
Chad, I do have
Yeah.
one question.
Go ahead.
Someone asked, what do advisors charge typically? Financial
1%,
advisors.
1%. I see a lot of them, they're between 1 and 1.5%. Right. And I love my advisor. I think he's awesome. He's changed my life. He sends me a lot of good clients. He gives me a lot of advice, but he doesn't beat the S&P 500 index, right? And the S&P 500 index for me to manage is very easy. I just type in SPY and I dump all my money in there, right? So he's going to have to start to outperform the S&P. Otherwise, I'll just manage all my money. So yeah, they're usually 1 to 1.5%. Great question. So the other 10%, this depends where you are at on savings and on your age. Don't gamble with money you don't have to gamble with. Okay. I gamble with 10% of my savings. Okay. So to finish out what we were looking at, that would be $166. And if we're finishing out our math, that we would have per month to dump on a speculative stock. Okay. So here's kind of the levels, right? Here is the levels. I'm going to go back to a slide. These are the levels of stocks that you want to buy. So up here is speculative. We're putting 10% in that area. So $166 a month. My friend Adrian is on. We just took a vacation together. We were talking about this Canadian company. That's a great idea. They believe that psychedelics can help cure depression, and they're testing LSD and mushrooms and just different psychedelic drugs to help cure depression. And they've made this huge advance with like pure MDMA. They have proof of the brain changing away from depression. So if something like that truly works and they're in some high level testing, that would be an example. Like some of the cannabis stocks took off. That is a speculative stock, right? If that hits, it's like $1 a share right now. I believe in what cannabis does. I believe in what psychedelics can do for certain people with mental health issues if it's used responsibly by a licensed psychiatrist, right? That's just an example of a speculative stock, right? So it's $1 a share. I could put $100 towards it. If it takes off, I could see 100%, 200% return. It could also go away and they say, we're not legalizing LSD or MDMA or, whatever other drugs are in that psychedelic group. So that's just an example of a speculative stock. But don't gamble if you're not in a position to gamble with it. I've put myself in a position to gamble a little bit, but I don't gamble a lot. It's 10% of my money. So know that the speculative stocks are a great idea that could just go away. You're buying an idea, you're not buying good fundamentals. So that's the top of this pyramid. Those are speculative stocks. Only 10% of your overall savings should go to them max. I also group crypto in that speculative phase. Okay. I believe in what crypto is going to do. I see the future in it. It's getting killed right now. I've been buying it on a discount, but it's only like 2% of my overall monies in crypto. I would never go all in. I don't know enough about it. I don't have enough time to focus on trading it and watching the ups and downs. I just believe in the ideas long term. So I include crypto in that speculative space. Cool. The next thing down are growth stocks. Okay. So these are great sales, companies that are generating a ton of revenue, but they haven't figured out how to make a profit. Think of Tesla. Tesla's now moving towards the bottom and being a blue chip, but they haven't made a ton of money. They have great sales and it's a great idea. And Elon has finally started to figure out how to make money. But for about 10 years, Tesla was always losing money. They weren't profitable. It was just a great idea. So Tesla's, if they can prove they can make money for 20, 30 years, then it can move to a blue chip stock. Okay. So see the difference between like the Microsoft and the Apples. They've proven themselves for 20, 30 years. It's a pretty rock solid investment. Anything with growth, I put here Amazon, Netflix, Tesla, Nvidia. I like that stock a lot, Salesforce, right? So you're gambling a little bit there, but you're going to get some bigger returns with some bigger risk. And then once again, the bottom is the blue chip stocks, okay? So only 10% of your money should go to speculative, right? The other 20% should go to these areas. Cool? So once again, bottom row is 30-year companies that are profitable. I just gave a bunch of examples here. I own Disney. I don't own Ford, but that would be one. GM, I don't own. Nike, I do. Walmart, I do. I don't own Johnson & Johnson. Boeing could be a good buy right now. That stock has just gotten hammered with some bad news on some of the testing of their recent aircrafts. Apple's proven themselves a lot. And then the best, in my opinion, is S&P. Right? So you want to definitely keep most of your money in that area and in index funds. The next area is, hey, I can gamble a little bit on some of these stocks. These are really well-known companies that haven't turned a lot of profit for a long time. So think of Amazon. They've learned how to create a profit. We'll see if they can do it long-term. Netflix, Tesla, Nvidia is a chip maker, Visa, Salesforce. Okay. So I'm always going to set up my E-Trade account with my blue chip stocks, my growth stocks, and my speculative. I'm going to manage that. And then I'm going to have my financial advisor manage his. Okay. And I'm going to constantly compare. So what I truly believe is you should max out your 401k first. That's $20,500. I don't really believe in playing with stocks until your 401k is maxed out. Get into these areas after you're maxing out your 401k. Or for those people on that are self-employed, a SEP, self-employed pension plan. I also have clients, they don't have access to a 401k, then you got to do it yourself, right? If you're W-2 and don't have access to a 401k, you have to do it yourself. This is how you would do it. So I would set up an E-Trade and I'd give a little bit of money to a financial advisor, and you just have to compare them. Okay. My financial advisor knows that I'm watching him. I think if he knows I'm watching him and tracking him and comparing him versus what I'm managing, he knows he better be on top of my money. He knows he better be on top of my trading. Cool. So that's just kind of how we break out the stock pyramids. Once you've maxed out your 401k, put some money in some value stocks, put some money in some growth stocks. And if you're a little bit willing to take some risk like I am, put 10% of it in speculative stocks. Okay, so that's just how we break it out. All right, when do we sell? Okay, I don't ever tell my financial advisor when to buy or sell. Okay, so keep in mind that the majority of my money's with an advisor. Last I checked, it was 80%, and then I manage 20%. Okay, I don't ever tell him when to buy or sell. I don't think about it. I don't even really look at it. I look at that as money that I need when I'm retired. I do play with my E-Trade account, and I do make some trades myself to learn about stocks, research stocks, and buy and sell stocks. So with the speculative stocks, anytime I have an investment that goes up 100%, I just had one with a company called Resin, I take my initial investment off the table. So what I mean by that is if I invested $1,000 in it and it goes up 100%, I've now made $1,000 on that 1,000. I take my $1,000 off the table. So I am now in an investment risk-free because I'm playing with their money, not with mine. Okay, and then I will let that ride, sometimes higher, sometimes it'll go a little bit lower, and I'll sell and recapture those gains too. So I watch the charts a lot of it. Why I like E-Trade is it gives you several different analysts scores on a stock. It lets you research the stock, and I've learned more managing my 20% of my money over the last 2 years in my E-Trade than I've ever learned in the stock market. So just like anything else, if you're hands-on with it, if you're active with it, if you're trading it yourself and it's your money, you're just going to do the research and do the work to figure it out. So any speculative stock, those are our risky stocks. When they go up 100%, I take my initial investment off and just gamble with the money that I've made in the investment. Growth stocks, those are the Nvidias, the Netflixes, the Teslas, the Amazons, right? Really good sales, not a long-term history of turning a profit. Those I'll sell half if they run up 50 to 100%. So Apple's ran up way more than 100% for me. I kept everything in there because I feel that's a blue chip stock. Okay. Amazon's ran up 60% for me. This was like in 2020 after Corona kind of hit and everyone was buying all of their supplies on Amazon. It ran up about 50, 60%. I sold 2/3 of my position to capture that 60%. Cool. So that's just kind of a, where do you feel comfortable and what do the analysts say? So any of those growth stocks, if they run up between 50 and 100%, you should sell anywhere from half of your position to all of it, whatever you feel comfortable with. The value stocks, once again, those are the Nikes, the Disneys, the Apples, the Microsofts, the Walmarts, the Costcos. I don't ever sell them. They are buy and hold stocks for me. Okay, I just buy and hold them and don't ever think about selling them. So a lot of people ask me, hey, how are you set up? What are the stocks that you are invested in? Once again, I am not a stock picker. These are companies that I like, that I believe in, and some of them are just because of the price that I bought them at. So these are my buy and hold that I have in my E-Trade. Okay, these are the stocks I believe in. These are the stocks I would never sell. I shouldn't say never, but I'm most likely holding until I'm old and need the money. So I love Disney, I love Apple, I love Nike, I love the S&P 500 index. About 40% of my overall wealth is in the S&P 500 index. So I just believe in it. It's a great index of the 500 best companies we have in the United States. And I love Microsoft. My advisor has me in Walmart, Johnson & Johnson, Lockheed Martin, Caterpillar, John Deere. Okay. He transitioned into that sector towards the I would say fall of last year, just seeing what was going on with building, knowing what was happening with some of these other stocks. They had ran up so much. He just thought there'd be a rotation into other sectors, and he's done very well with those picks. In my E-Trade, my growth stocks, Nvidia. Most of the shortages we have right now are because of semiconductors or chips, computer chips, right? Nvidia is one of the best chip makers right now. So I just don't think computer chips are going away. I think they're the future. Seems like everything has them now. Once they get the supply chain shortages figured out, they're going to be super profitable. About 2 weeks ago, they put up record numbers on their earnings, just blew it out of the park. So I like Nvidia a lot. Square, or they call it Block now, is a company I like. If you've ever been to a street festival in Chicago and you know all those vendors are set up, they have that little white thing that you swipe your credit card with. They got a ton of fintech stuff like Venmo that they're responsible for. It's the owner of Twitter. That's his company. I like them a lot. And I use Salesforce a ton. Everything I do in business is Salesforce. So I like that stock a lot. And these are just some speculative stocks that I think will hit. Lantern Pharmaceutical, they do a lot of drug making and have artificial intelligence and seem to be pretty close on some big things in the cancer world and curing cancer. So obviously if something like that hits, the stock's going to way take off. It was really good last year and it has just got absolutely crushed end of last year, beginning of this year. So I'm just holding it until those trials go through. And then TSM is another semiconductor play. It's the largest manufacturer of chips. It's located in Taiwan. So you can see some that my financial advisors pick: Tesla, Amazon, Netflix. Matterport is a real estate / metaverse play. So you might have heard Facebook going to the Meta. That means virtual reality. That means instead of now hanging out on a Zoom, we would be in a virtual reality with big goggles on and we'd all be shaking hands and I'd be writing this all on a board and you'd all be hanging out in a virtual room for me. So they have figured out how to map the whole world and put it in a virtual reality. So I just think that's the future. And if something like that hits, it's going to deliver some big returns. And then my stock I was super proud of because of all the money it's made me, that right before I came on, I just saw that it got beat up by 30% today. It's down 30%. So I'm not very proud of this one right now, but it's been a great stock for me. So I'm not a stock picker. I research them. I use the products. If I like the products and see there's a future in them, I'll put some investments in them. So those are just some examples of stocks that I like. And just to end on crypto. Crypto is a super hot word. You've heard it run up. Has been just beat up a ton. Once again, I believe about 1 to 2% of your money should go into crypto if you are a risk taker, right? If you're risk adverse, you shouldn't get into crypto. You shouldn't get into speculative stocks. You might not even want to get into growth stocks like Netflix, Tesla. You might just want to stay in the blue chips, the Nikes, the Disneys, and that's okay. Those stocks are still going to have a great return. I call them blue collar boring stocks. They're blue collar and boring because they just crank out good returns, and they're not going to have these huge swings. So you're not going to make like 100% on a lot of them, but you're not going to lose all your money either. So crypto is something you might have heard of, the blockchain technology. There's just a lot of money pouring into it. And really what it does is creates about up to 10,000 computers that verify a transaction, right? So it has been unhackable. If that's a word, I'm going to make up a word. The hackers can't get into it. It's very secure, and it transfers ownership. It transfers ownership in a verified way that can go back and everyone can keep track of it. So it's really good to get black market stuff off of sales, like fake Rolexes, fake wine. They can trace back to all the ownership of the grapes and make sure it's an Opus One bottle, not a fake Opus One bottle. I think A lot of real estate will happen over the next 10, 20 years without attorneys, without title companies, and it will just be done through that type of technology where the ownership is transferred from one party to another with thousands of computers verifying the transaction and the legitimacy of it. So that's just a little bit about crypto. I have a great manual that I read to help me understand crypto. I'm not giving it all justice. Any of you that would want it, I would be happy. I would be happy to share it with you. It just taught me a ton of what crypto is, why there's a big future in it. I use Coinbase to buy my crypto in. I just have 3 Ethereum, Solana, and Aave. And those are the 3 that I invest in. And I'll never put a ton of money into it because most people that have lost a ton of it. A lot of people that started from the beginning made a ton of money. So it's just very volatile, like anything when it becomes a good idea, right? So was Amazon, right? So was Apple. All of these stocks that are blue chips now that have had this amazing run, that have made people very wealthy, that have invested in them, they've all had their times of challenges, right? And most people lose, just like I see several of my realtors on, both on Facebook and on Zoom. You know, we all know in our industry, the people that panic lose, right? The people that panic during the financial crisis and sold their properties, they're kicking themselves now, right? If they would hold on to those properties, think how much more they're worth. It's the same with stocks. So just kind of the last rule, don't invest in a stock unless you're going to hold it for 5 years, right? If you're not going to hold it for 5 years and you're not comfortable watching those losses, just don't buy it, right? You've got to be comfortable that your money's tied up for 5 years. You have to let the company become what it's going to become. And that discipline will pay off over the long run. And what I always tell myself is it's just numbers on a page. Sometimes that number's way bigger because the market's doing great. Sometimes it's way lower. If you're truly investing for the long term, it doesn't really matter until you need the money. And if you're setting your finances up right, you shouldn't need the money till retirement. So that is everything of how I invest. That is how we've went from being $330,000 in debt to having $7 million in the stock market. And it is just lessons that have been given to me. These aren't original ideas. I have a coaching program called the Core Training that I'm a coach in. Coaches mortgage lenders, it coaches realtors across the country. This was all been taught to me by my mentor, Rick, in this program, by my coaches that have poured into me. And I just hope it gave you guys a little bit of understanding of how to invest, when to invest, and what to invest in. This is how I do it. Doesn't make it right or wrong. This is just what's been successful for me. And if I can help you guys in any ways, please reach out anytime. You can call me. This is my contact information. I'm passionate about helping people with their money. I don't take anything from it besides the satisfaction that someone has poured into me and given me this lessons, and I feel obligated to give them to others. So any final questions? I got 3 minutes for questions. Let's see, there are some. Carrie, got any questions?
None on Zoom other than that one, and I'm checking Facebook right now.
Cool. A lot of people will ask me for a financial advisor recommendation. It just depends where you're at. I have several is a good starting point. That's going to work with people at any number. I have some that are more mid-level. I have some that just deal with large sums of money, right? So it's customized for anyone and to that person who my recommendation is. And I'm just super grateful to have you all in my life. I'm grateful that you came here today. And with looking like there's no further questions, I'm going to go home and try and have dinner with my girls and do their homework and read to them and say some prayers before we go to bed. So thank you for tuning in.